Assalamu alaikum, my beautiful brothers and sisters. Welcome to Peace of Imaan. Today we get to share the story of Prophet Yusuf, the true story of betrayal, forgiveness, and God's plan. What if the worst betrayal of your life was actually the first step towards your great destiny? The Quran calls the story of Prophet Yusuf the best of all stories. On today's episode of Peace of Iman, you discover why a dream, a dark well, and a torn shirt can lead to the salvation of all nations. The Quran tells us the most beautiful stories about a prophet who was thrown into a well, sold as a slave, and locked in prison only to rise and save the nation. This is the incredible story of Prophet Yusuf, and it might just change the way you look at your own life or situation. The story is a journey through the deepest valley of human emotions, jealousy, betrayal, despair to highest peak of power and forgiveness and faith. Our story begins with a young boy named Yusuf, the beloved son of Prophet Yaqub, also known as Prophet Jacob. He was one of the 12 brothers, but he and his younger brother Benjamin held a special place in their father's heart. One morning, young Yusuf ran to his father, his eyes wide open with the magic of a dream he just had. The Quran tells us precisely what he says in Surah Yusuf, chapter 12, verse 4. He says, "O my father, indeed I have seen 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating to me innocently," he said. His father, Prophet Yusuf, was also a great prophet. He understood immediately that this was not just an ordinary dream, it was a vision of Yusuf's future greatness, a prophecy that he will be raised to the station of honor above his entire family. But with this knowledge came a deep sense of fear from the father. He knew the heart of other brothers of his son and warned Yusuf, and he said, "O my son, do not relate your vision to your brothers, or they will plot against you." Prophet Yaqub's wisdom was a heavy burden. He could see the danger, but he was also operating with a divine plan far greater than his own ability to control it. His willingness was not enough to stop what was coming, a destruction and a fire and jealousy already consumed in Yusuf's 10 elder brothers. They saw their father's love for Yusuf and Benjamin not as an affection for his younger motherless son, but as a personal slight against them. They decided they had to get rid of their younger brother. You can imagine how far the heart can become bitter. All this just to get the full attention of their father. They convinced their father, who do not even want the brother to play with them or go out with them out of the fear he had in his heart. But they convinced him to allow him take his brother to the desert, promising the father to protect him, but their heart was held with dark secret. They've already planned how they will kill their brother because of envy and jealousy of the love the father has for their younger brother. And they are just filled with so much jealousy. That is the heart of man. It's filled with envy and jealousy. May God protect us. May Allah protect us from every form of envy and jealousy. They took him far from home, and in a cold, heartless act, they stripped him of his shirt. Imagine doing this to your own blood brother. Ignored his plea that he was begging them, "Please help me," and threw him into the darkest of a depth dry well. To cover their crime, they stained their shirt with forced blood and returned to their father, weeping and claiming a wolf had eaten him. You can imagine the lies, the betrayal, the jealousy. They came back to their father, lying that a wolf had eaten their younger brother. How heartless the human mind can be. See, their father he couldn't believe the story. You said a wolf ate him. Is it possible for a wolf to eat someone and the shirt will still be intact? So the father knew that something was definitely fishing somewhere. But the beauty of Allah and the grace of Allah is that even as Yusuf was abandoned in the well, lonely, Allah sent someone to him with a promise that this is not the end. You can imagine his situation, and that is why we should always hold on to Allah, even when it looks like there's no hope. Just keep building your faith and holding on to His promise. In Surah Yusuf, chapter 12, verse 15, and we inspired him. You will surely inform them of the affair of their why they do not perceive you. Even in the pits of despair, God was telling him, one day you will face your betrayers again, but from a position of power that they cannot imagine. When you hope on God, when you hope on Allah, He will definitely reward you. It's a terrifying moment of betrayals for those closest to Him. To Yusuf, these are his blood brothers. You can imagine being betrayed by your blood brothers. After your brothers, the next closest person is your parents, and they betrayed you. How does one find hope in a situation like this? You could have similar situations of betrayals of, from people closest to you. How do you still hold on to hope of the promise of Allah in a situation like this? It is a question worth thinking about. In the dark prison, Yusuf's spirit stood out even more. His faith, wisdom, and good character earned the respect of other prisoners. Two men in the king who were the king's former cupbearers and baker were imprisoned with Prophet Yusuf. Both were troubled by a strange dream that they had. And being with Yusuf, observing his righteousness, they asked him for an interpretation. But before Prophet Yusuf gave them the answer they wanted, he gave them the guidance that they needed. He saw an opportunity to share his message. He asked them, what makes sense to worship many different powerless lords, or worship the one all powerful God? He called them to the pure faith of his forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. After establishing this foundation of faith, he interpreted their dreams with the knowledge that God has given to him. In Surah Yusuf, chapter 12, verse 41, O two companions of prison, as for one of you, he will give drink to his masters of wine, but for as the other, he will be crucified, and the bird will eat from his head. His prediction came truly exactly as described. The baker was executed, and the cupbearer was freed and restored his position. As the cupbearer, the one who was saved, was leaving the prison, Yusuf asked him, please mention to me, to your Lord. But in the joy of his freedom, the man forgot. That is human for you. He forgot, not intentionally, because he actually has love for Yusuf. But he forgot because he was mad. For several years, not 1 month, not 2 months, he forgot about what Yusuf pleaded with him to please mention him to his master. But God has a better plan. Man might forget you, but Allah will never forget you. And then the king of Egypt himself had a dream. That's Allah's plan. He saw 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 lean cows, and 7 green ears of corn being replaced by 7 dry ones. He was deeply troubled because he's a king. And none of his magician or fake believers could interpret the dream. And suddenly, at the right time, Allah made the cupbearer to remember. And he remembered the bright, truthful man he had left behind in prison. He rushed to Prophet Yusuf and he told him the king's dream without any bitterness or demands for his release. Prophet Yusuf provided the answer immediately. He explained that the dream was a prophecy for the entire nation. You can imagine, after the cupbearer did not remember him for years, Prophet Yusuf had the spirit of forgiveness. He didn't hold it against him. How many of us can do that? He didn't hold it against him. He forgave him, because he realized that his life and destiny is not in the hands of any man, but in the hands of Allah. So he accepted his time in the prison as the will of Allah, not because the cupbearer forgot to mention him to his king. I pray that Allah give us the kind of patience and the spirit of forgiveness that Prophet Yusuf had. And in Surah Yusuf chapter 12, verse 47 to 48, Joseph replied, "You will plant for 7 consecutive years, and after that will come 7 years of great hardship, which all will be consumed, whatever you have saved." He laid out a complete economic plan to save Egypt. Remember, the young slave Yusuf is giving out a complete economic plan to save Egypt. He advised them to harvest and store grain during the 7 years of abundance and to prepare for the 7 years of famine that will follow. Such wisdom can only be gotten from Allah. The king was amazed. He knew this was not just someone that just interpreted dreams. This was a man of profound wisdom and faith. And he ordered that Prophet Yusuf be released immediately. But Prophet Yusuf refused to leave. He insisted that his name be cleared first, especially when he was falsely accused and thrown into the prison. He was not in a hurry to clear his freedom. He wanted his name to be restored. And the king summoned the women and the woman of his master, the wife of his master, and she finally confessed the truth that she had tried to seduce him and he was completely innocent. With his honor restored, Prophet Yusuf walked out of prison not as a pardoned criminal, but as a dedicated hero. After being forgotten in prison for years, Prophet Yusuf showed no bitterness. What does that teach us about patience and trusting in the bigger plan of Allah? Saw that Prophet Yusuf had a great honesty and knowledge. So he wanted, to make him an advisor. Prophet Yusuf understood the large responsibility ahead of him. So he made a bold request. He saw an opportunity to serve God and help people through fair knowledge. He was put in charge of Egypt's resources, becoming one of the most powerful men in the land. He managed the harvest brilliantly, and when the 7 years of famine hit, Egypt was prepared while the surrounding land suffered. And this farmer was brought the story of a full cycle. From the land of Canaan, 10 men arrived in Egypt, desperate for food. And guess what? These 10 men were the brothers of Yusuf. The elder brothers that threw him in the well naked, abandoned him to die. You can see how God's own punishment can be greater than whatever form of revenge you want to do. They stood behind him, begging for grains, with no idea who he was, but he recognized them instantly. Over a series of visits, he tested them. He wanted to see if they had changed, if they felt any remorse for what they had done. Because it's easy to say, I'm sorry, but he wanted to watch their character. If he had confronted them, they would have just said, I'm sorry. But he studied them to see if they have truly changed. And he demanded they bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, and saw how they've grown to protect him. And when he saw that their hearts have softened, it was the time for the revelation to come. In a moment of overwhelming emotions, imagine being standing in front of your brothers after how many years your brothers who tried to kill you, you suffered, you ended up in prison, sold as a slave. So he was filled with so much emotions. In the moment of overwhelming emotions, he asked them, do you know what you did with Yusuf? And his brothers were ignorant. They looked at him, stunned, and asked, are you Yusuf? He replied, I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. So the brothers were terrified, expecting vengeance for their crime. They had left their younger brother for dead, and now their lives were in his hands. Prophet Yusuf has been given a great position, so if he wanted them thrown into the prison, it would take him nothing. And if he wanted them killed, it would take him nothing. But Prophet Yusuf, at the peak of his character, at the peak of his power, again, he showed us his character. He offered them not revenge, but complete and total mercy. How many of us in this kind of situation would do the same thing? After someone has planned to kill us, and just because the person has changed, we will actually forgive the person. Complete mercy, especially when you are powerful. How many of us can do that? And Prophet Yusuf's character is a clear indication and sign of Allah's mercy on us. It tells us that no matter how deep we think we are in sin, no matter how bad we think we have gone so far, Allah's mercy is still in our reach. If we change and turn our ways to Him, change, He will definitely forgive us. And that's the mercy of Allah. Don't think you've committed a sin that is beyond forgiveness. If you truly repent, Allah will definitely show you mercy. And we pray that we emulate the life of Prophet Yusuf to have the spirit of forgiveness and patience in our hearts. No matter how far you think your sin is or how deep you've committed sin against Allah, He is merciful if you change your ways and turn back to Him. He sent them back with His own share to his father, whose eyesight was restored by the touch. Yusuf's entire family, brothers and their family, migrated to Egypt. As they entered his court, Prophet Yusuf raised his parents to the throne, and his 11 brothers, along with his parents, bowed before him
in respect. The dream had finally come true. Look at the whole struggle, the whole process. Devil tried to, Shaitan tried to spoil the plans and the dream that God has planted in the life of Prophet Yusuf. At the end of the day, it came to pass. And that is to tell you that nobody can change the plan or the destiny that Allah has for you. No matter how they try, with betrayal, whatever you can imagine, whatever Allah has planned and will for your life will definitely come to pass. Looking at his father, Prophet Yusuf explained the incredible journey God has taken on him in Surah Yusuf, chapter 12, verse 100. He said, "O my father, this is the interpretation of the dream of before. My Lord has made it come true after Satan has caused conflicts between me and my brothers." Noticing his incredible grace, he did not say, "After my brother betrayed me." He attributed the conflict to Satan, lifting the burden of shame from his brother and among his family to heal fully. May Allah give us the grace and the spirit of forgiveness that Prophet Yusuf had. From the bottom of a well to the throne of Egypt, the life of Prophet Yusuf is a powerful testament to God's perfect divine plan. It teaches us that every trial, no matter how dark, can be a stepping stone to a greater good. It shows us that when we practice true and beautiful patience, we'll ultimately be rewarded for our effort. It teaches us that the highest form of strength is the ability to forgive those who have wronged us the most. His story begins with a dream from God and ended with the reality of God's promise fulfilled. It reminds us that even when we feel lost, forgotten, and wrong, we are never outside God's plan or care. His plan is always at work, turning our deepest pain into our greatest strength. Which part of Prophet Yusuf's story inspires you the most? Let us know in the comments section.